Hey, look, today I thought I'd go through a little project that I'm doing. It's a really tiny project, and let's just quickly go over what I'm doing here. What I'm trying to do is I sent out some questions to some of the artists that I've been working with, and I've gotten about 48 responses to date. And what I want to do is I want to take these responses and I want to transfer them from the spreadsheet that you can get from Google Forms right here. I'm going to transfer them from that spreadsheet to a Google Doc. And this is the template. But what I want to do with this Google Doc is it'll make it easier for me to edit and then also transfer individual artists or individual respondents. Take this document and transfer it quickly to my blog or WordPress blog. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's get started. And one of the issues, just want to tell you right away, is I've already started. And I started using instructions from Practical E-commerce. This article happens to have been written in about February 2018. And I am going to actually use a lot of this, but not all of it. I had to change it around because their data is a little bit different than mine. But again, that's where I got it from. We're just going to go quickly into a quick overview of what I'm doing. Here's all the data from the sheet, and I've taken it and putting it into the variable, headers, the artist's name, and so on. I've also got the Google Doc template. Remember I showed you that's the variable for that. I've got a for loop here. I am looping over that entire sheet. If you take a look at the bracket, closes here. But I am looping over the entire sheet right now using the length artist sheet name. Artist sheet name is here. You can see B2 to B5, so not that many. Just a couple, three to be exact, so I can test it. Right here, I take the Google Doc, copy it. I want to copy, obviously, each template for each artist. And then I'm going to replace, you see these placeholders here, artist name, artist type. I'm going to replace those with the data from here. That's what this is doing. And then it is appending that value using this function down here. This parse artist sheet name is going to use the headers, the data and the values in the artist sheet name and the body that we created here from the template. And then it's just going to start appending a lot of that. Again, using the headers, variable, I've got a parameter I've got called answer column and then the body. And that'll be it. Let's just get going on this. I'm going to turn up music a little bit and I will comment when necessary. Let's get going here. First thing I want to do is test this. I haven't looked at this sheet in a while, so I want to test it. And just to be clear, this is my template directory. So everything that I create from this Google App script is going to be created in here. I'm going to take this template, get the data from each one of these artists, use this template again, and then create new Google Docs right here. So let's go ahead and get going. First thing, excuse me for yawning. Wow. I want to do is we're running it. Let's just make sure everything is still working since the last time I looked at this. It's running. It's taking a little time here. All right, it's done. Let's take a look and see if it worked here. All right, great. So it worked. I've got about 4 different artists here. Let's take a look at Carlton Washington. And one of the problems I have, and this was a mistake that I made, when I was when I was creating the questions, I just asked them to give me their name and websites in one big long text field, and that was a mistake. So one of the things that happened is now that I'm looking at these artists, it's just free text, and it's a lot harder to parse that. And so what I've ended up doing, which is probably not the greatest answer in the world, is slicing. So we get an array, and I'm just slicing the array for the first 15 indexes. And because of that, you'll take a look at the title that we create. Carlton, Washington is the name. As you can see, this is all the data that Carlton gave us, and none of this stuff is secret. This is an artist who of course wants you to come and visit their websites and their email list or whatever. That way you can hire them whenever you need them. But as you can see here, the freeform text looks fine when it comes over to the document, but when you're using it to create the title of your document, it doesn't work out as well. Like, I don't have all the name here, so on and so forth, but it's not a big deal. Just something to keep in mind if I do this again, or if you happen to try something like this. Anyway, silly mistake on my part. Let's keep it moving. So everything looks good. We've got the featured artist. What type of artist are you? What inspired you? We've got an answer, but we don't have anything for projects yet, or new projects. So let's get that done. I'm just going to close this off, and I'm just going to kill these. Again, there's probably a more efficient way of doing a lot of this, so if you know it, please let me know. But I'm just going to continue. Now, where do I need to go? Right now, what I need to do is get the rest of the data. So, what did I call it here? Projects. So let's just go here, and for now, just copy this one guy. And then we're just going to take everything we need here and update it. Now, what do we call it? Projects. So I'm just going to call this sheet. Naming this stuff, I probably could have done it a lot better, but let's just forget that for now. Sheets, project data, we're getting the values. This, by the way, is the sheet, the actual sheet ID, which is here in the URL. And then we know it's not D2 to D5 because we used that already. So it's going to be E2 to E5. All right, so then all we need to do is just change this, change that. This stays the same, this stays the same, but then we need to add this. So when we're looping over the data, we need to look in this array, in this variable. And I'm going to take, so what we're doing here is the data we get from the sheet ends up getting saved as a two-dimensional array. I guess one of the first value is the row, and then the next value is the data. So we're just going to transform that and just get out the actual data we need. And then that means we only need to do that. We just need to get the variable, the value from that variable, and then here I'm going to put it in a new variable. I don't know if I need to say data all the time, but I do. And I'm going to call this projects data. One of the things you need to know about me is I am not a developer, so I'm a project manager. So I should call this watch project manager struggle through wannabe coding. Maybe that's what I'll call this. Everything stays the same here. I'm taking the document ID. If you take a look at this Google Doc ID right here, this big long alphanumeric string comes from the URL of my template. Remember the template with the placeholders? So that stays the same. Right here, what we're doing is, again, I'm slicing it. So right here is where I get the title. So I copy the template, and then I create a new file, and what I'm doing is I'm setting the name, right, with artist, which is just a static text, and then I take that artist name that I get from the sheet and I slice it, and then I add profile. Again, I may do this differently, but it really doesn't matter. I don't care that much about the title. Then here I'm just getting the body of the document and putting it into a variable, so I don't need to change anything here. Right here, I do need to change something because I need to replace those placeholders. So I'm just going to lazily copy this, replace text. All right, and it's not inspired anymore, right? It is projects. And then I need this data, the actual cell data. That looks good. Now this is just a log. What I'm doing here is I'm logging this data. This is the artist type. And I'm taking just want to see so I just want to see what's happening within this cell, or it's not a cell anymore, it's a variable, but I got the cell data and put it into this variable. And I just want to come in here and look and see make sure that everything looks good. So right now I do not need I don't think I need this, but I'll keep it just in case. For now, I'm just going to comment that out. I'll just keep that so I can take a look at it and make sure it looks fine in the log. If I have any problems here, I append values. So I do need to append this value. And again, this is probably not the most efficient way of doing this because I'm just doing the same stuff over and over. It's probably a more efficient way of doing this right now, but I just want to get it done. I'm going to take this guy and put it here. And this, I know that it's, so again, this is a two-dimensional array, and I'm looking at the header's values. So the header value is going to change. Here's a header value, and so on. So I know it has to change. Again, this is probably something that a crafty engineer could make a little more efficient, but I am not that, and it's not going to be that much more efficient. It's just going to get the job done. All right, so we're done with that, but we haven't saved it, so I'm going to do Control S. All right, let's take a shot. I don't need to change anything else in my function, in my parsing function. So I'm just going to test it again. It takes a second here, huh? All right, great. For a second there, I thought it wasn't going to work. Let's look at our friend Carlton. Let's look at Andrew Henry. I'm sure he's a nice guy. So we have the artists. Great. So that worked. So remember, we had projects was empty. Projects is no longer empty. Now we got to work on new projects. So let's just go through this. I'm going to do a lot less talking and try to just jam this out. Something weird here. All right, so you see it created something weird here, but we'll figure that out later. All right, let's get back to work here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I do not know. I think we need that right now. All right. What I'm going to do is erase these and start again. Mm-hmm.
Daddy, will you tell me the password to the? No, will you do the password?
Mama said you could.
No, I can. No, mine just ran out of battery.
What'd you say?
My thing, you just unplug
Yeah.
it in and then.
Here, Brick.
Daddy, can put it on my computer.
Yeah. So the more I look at this, the more I rushed into making this because I just wanted to get done. But what I'm realizing is I don't really need to do this. You know, so I don't think so. I don't need to append it, whatever on the bottom here. And that happens sometimes. You're rushing, you're looking for a way to do it, and you just kind of copy what someone else has done, and it's not necessarily the best way. Let's see if I mean, I don't need this at the bottom. I don't need to append any bullet points. I kind of see where it would be valuable, but it's not valuable right now. All right, let's get back to work.
Can we do this when we get home? Can we do this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we're pretty close to being done here. Um, let us see. All right, we're pretty much done here. Made a little cosmetic change. Let's see if it works. Our template drive is empty. All right, let's see if this is going to work here. Test. All right. Now I need to double check the data, make sure it's in the right place. But the thing is here, I could just kind of read and see if the answers kind of line up. He recommends here, recommends. Who do you admire? Of course, he names some people. Stan Lee. And yeah, and there it is. Looks like it's all worked out. I don't have that junk at the bottom. So yeah, this is great. It's a great way. And again, mine is a little sloppier. I'm sure there's a lot more efficient ways of doing this. It's probably actually a plugin or something that'll do this for you. But really, this is my way of taking the responses from Google Sheets and then putting them into Google Docs. And again, this is going to help me when I want to post these on my blog, because when I do my blog, which is one of my blogs, when I go to post it on my blog, and I can do an example one now, but this is the blog, right? When I go to post it on here, all I need to do is copy and paste it, because I can copy and paste easily from Google Docs to WordPress. And then I can also look through this document now. It's a lot easier for me to look through this document and see if everything that I need is in there, see if I want to pull something out as a quote to use in the title. So it just makes it a lot easier. Again, there's probably easier ways of doing this, and easier than my easier, but a lot more efficient ways. But this will work for me. All right. Thank you. See you guys later.